you've talked extensively today about your concern about the politicization of intelligence, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. Uh, what do you believe should be done structurally to ensure the integrity of the analytic process? In other words, just saying it's going to be not compromised needs to be buttressed by structural and institutional supports, it seems to me, like additional support for the ombudsman program in the CIA and throughout the community. Can you talk to me about how to put into practice your concern about the politicization of intelligence?
Yes, Senator, thank you. I fully appreciate also your leadership on these issues. I don't have specific structural recommendations at this stage. I do think it's reasonable to consider whether or not the ombudsman has sufficient support. I think that one of the first things I'd like to do is send the clear message to the intelligence community that we are expected to produce apolitical, unvarnished intelligence to the president-elect, to his senior advisors, and that the president himself expects that and will expect the intelligence community to provide information regardless of whether or not he wants to hear it. And that is, that initial message is only a piece of it, as you've identified. I think we also need to ensure that we have an ombudsman in place that is capable of doing the kinds of reviews that are necessary, would want to make sure that they are fully resourced. I also think it may be useful for us to do a climate survey coming in order to really understand what is the experience of analysts that is being had right now? What are the challenges and the pressures that they're experiencing? I obviously read the recent ombudsman's report, and I have a number of questions that were raised by that report, and want to fully understand the various types of politicization that may be occurring within the analytic community in order to try to support them. But I would commit, sir, to come back to you on these issues once I've had an opportunity, if confirmed, to dig in a sense, and also to get your advice on these questions.
Has the president-elect ordered you to tell him the truth?
The president-elect has just about done that. I'm not sure he hasn't put it in writing that way, but he has made it absolutely clear that he expects that the intelligence community will provide him with apolitical, truth to power analysis, and truly has been adamant about this, because I think he really understands and recognizes the importance of that to the health of the decision-making process within government.
Well, I think the danger, the good news is you have a long and positive relationship with the president-elect. You have his confidence, obviously. The bad news is that long relationship could create a kind of friendship that would inadvertently or unconsciously skew your advice. Not that you wouldn't tell him something he needs to hear, but you might not want to tell him something he doesn't want to hear. So I hope that you will continue to maintain a positive, confident relationship, but at the same time, be prepared because there are going to be moments when in your analysis, your agency's analysis is going to differ from the policy proclivities of the administration. Another question is, how do you overcome, or how do you go about overcoming the parochialism of the agencies which you are called upon to lead? I'm not sure that the community has ever fully embraced or accepted the office of the Director of National Intelligence. Do you view that as an ongoing project and a priority?
I do, sir. So on both questions, I think they're ones I've thought a lot about. So on the first one, on the relationship piece, I absolutely take your point, and I do think it's one of those things where I am going to have to absorb and ensure that I'm projecting and living the fact that the relationship that the president should have with his Director of National Intelligence is quite different than the relationship he should have with, for example, his National Security Advisor. And I intend to try to live essentially what I believe to be the right role institutionally for the Director of National Intelligence, to be at in a sense, arm's length in that way, so that it is absolutely clear that my intention there is to provide analysis regardless of whether it's what he wants to hear or not. The second point that you make, I also agree with. I think it's one of the great challenges is helping the intelligence community to see the value of the Office of Director of National Intelligence. And I believe that the way to promote a less, what's the right word, sort of tribal approach to each of these institutions is to demonstrate how through synchronization, coordination, and through the vision, in effect, that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence can promote, that every element is going to benefit. In a sense, all of us are going to be stronger together than we are apart. And if we can work together, we can actually help each other to be the best that we can be from each of these elements points. I realize that's a lot easier to say than to do, but I intend to try. And I believe
Well,
it for what it's worth.
don't forget the basic purpose was that we realized we had really good stovepipes, but they were still stovepipes. So
Yeah.
that's your mission. One final comment, not a question. I know I'm almost out of time, and that is, I hope you'll bring some attention to the question of cultural intelligence, of understanding our adversaries in a long-term cultural, economic, and strategic way, as opposed to just the tactical, what are they likely to do next week? I often feel that we make mistakes in foreign policy by not understanding the long history of our adversaries and expecting them to think and act just as we would.
Thank you, Senator. I will endeavor to do so. That makes an awful lot of sense to me and something I've seen the value of in the past.